Good morning, Wabash. Good morning, Lord. Today, speaking at Pioneer Chapel is Cassie Hagan with her talk entitled, "This is Scary," and Cassie Reads Mean Tweets. Cassie is a proud Montgomery County lifer and lives in Ladoga with her husband Danny, daughter Scarlett, and dog Zoe. She joined the Wabash community and the Career Services team in 2013 and enjoys helping students identify and achieve their career goals. As a fine art photography major, Cassie learned the value of creative thinking and problem solving, and believe your major uniquely prepares you for your future, but does not dictate or limit your career path. You may know her as Assistant Director of Career Services by day, but beyond the Wabash bubble, Cassie is also a proud oldest sister, wife, daughter, friend, engaged nonprofit supporter, and general community cheerleader, and 24-hour career mom. Between resumes and diapers, Cassie enjoys comedy, true crime podcasts, and another true crime podcast comedy. Did I get that right? Okay, good enough. Stop by the Arnold House to say hello. Please join me in welcoming Cassie Hagan.
Good morning, Wabash. What's up, balcony? I didn't see you up there at first. Thank you to the Sphinx Club for the invitation and all who have come out today to enjoy this Wabash tradition. I have often wondered, if ever given the chance, what valuable wisdom would I impart upon you? What am I, the elder millennial, uniquely qualified to tell you? I guess we will all find out together. I chose the title, "This is Scary," because, did it just get sweaty in here, or no, just me? Okay. This is literally very scary to me. They say if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. And I think that's why I always feel very comfy here at Wabash. Many people from many walks of life with unique and important advice have been right here, and I've been so inspired by many of them. No pressure, though, right? I don't really understand why, but suddenly a few years ago, I found that any kind of public speaking became very stressful for me, when it never had been before. I started getting the physiological symptoms first, and even though I didn't feel nervous, my voice and hands would quiver, and when I could see and hear my nerves, my brain would catch up with them and be like, this is scary. And as I was writing this, I'm anticipating this is about the point where the runaway train happens. So here we all are, okay. And the more it would happen, then I did start to get the anxious feelings and anticipation of public speaking. And I started to avoid those scenarios. So there was a lot of lost sleep this week, some procrastination, I think some of you can relate to that, and a lot of sweat, lots of sweat involved here. So, but I don't want to go through life avoiding things that are uncomfortable. There's no room for personal or professional growth in that, and moreover, I think there's really something to be said for leading by example. And I feel that good leaders will turn a critical mirror and hold themselves to the standards that they ask of others. I think I have likely asked many of you to do things that are scary for you. Scary through your perspective. The things that are scary to you may not be the things that are scary to me. You may think that I'm a giant baby right now, and I'm very comfortable with that. And if I ask you to trust me and to do things that are scary because they are ultimately good for you and allow you to open yourself up for growth, I need to know that I am not asking you to do anything that I would not ask of myself. I despise public speaking at this point in life. And that said, I invite you to laugh, please. That's the kindest thing that you can do for me right now. That's how you're going to help me through this, okay? A sub-theme for my talk today could be, take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. Humor can get you through a lot, and it's going to be a winding path for me to make my point, much like most of the conversations you have with me. But stick with me, we'll get there in the end. So first, here's the serious part. I want to be vulnerable with you. I want to share some of my life experience because recently I've come to understand why it's important. My mom taught me a lot about positivity, faith, compassion, and grit. My little brother was diagnosed with epilepsy at age 2, and spent a lot of time at Riley Children's Hospital that year. While a very scary and uncertain time for my family, my parents and brother were surrounded by children with terminal diagnoses every day. Those parents knew that their children were not going to come home. My mother taught me to find gratitude and compassion in even the toughest of situations. She said something to me about that experience, which I had been somewhat shielded from because I was very young then, and it stuck with me and it still resounds with me today. Someone else always has it worse. We can be grateful for that one more day together because there were some scary days when we weren't sure that would happen. It wasn't about comparing situations, but her point was that you can always find positive to pull you through. It got her through years of doctor's appointments, EEGs, serious medications with serious side effects, and doing her own research on treatments. It's all about perspective. Several years later, I witnessed my mother apply the same Wabash always fights mentality to her own fight with cancer. I don't like to say that she lost her battle because she truly fought until the end. And by the way, I want to let you all know, I am actually a Wabash legacy in my own right. My mom worked for the college for a short time. And so, sidebar, if you were a Phi Delt in the late 70s, I have that secret admirer note, and you really should have done something scary back then. It's a wave, it's okay. I lost my mother at age 15. Of course, it's difficult losing a parent at any age, and unfortunately, I know many of you here, students, staff, faculty, can relate to that experience, although we all experience loss and grief differently and uniquely. Sometimes I hesitate to share that part of my life experience, not because it's too hard for me, but because I feel like it might not be helpful to tell someone who's going through that situation currently the outcome of the situation as I experienced it. I lost my mom. That may not be helpful. And anyway, my experience was not unique. Someone else always has it worse. I had other support systems in place, and that way I was very lucky. There were several other kids at my small high school at the same time who had already lost a parent too, and there was at least one who had lost both. Someone else has it worse. Life goes on. The doctors always said that with my brother's conditions, he would likely outgrow epilepsy. Most people outgrow that by about age 8 or 9. However, 8, 9, 10 came and went. That was not true for him. With perspective later, he did go on to live a full and happy life. It was a great responsibility to help care for a child with epilepsy and autism, but one that we accepted as a family. It was even more challenging to care for a physically strong young man who lost almost all ability to communicate and navigated his world by his means. He passed away from complications of his medical conditions in February of 2013. I also don't talk much about this. Not because it's too hard for me, it's just that, well, someone else always has it worse. Maybe some of you care for family members with special needs, or you've lost a friend or sibling far too young. Some of you may find your life here on campus is actually easier in comparison to the personal responsibilities that you accept at home. And not all of your peers can relate to that. Okay, so that's the end of the really serious stuff. It is okay to laugh. I think many of you can connect with me on this next point, though. So growing up, I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. I felt a huge responsibility to be a good role model for my siblings. Or maybe it's not a sibling for you, maybe it's a friend or someone else in your life. It's one of our first and maybe our most important leadership roles. I found it very frustrating when I could not get the sibling folk to follow my lead, when I could see that they were maybe going the wrong way. I counted that a failure, and at times I compromised my standards for myself because my identity had been so connected to being a good role model, and it didn't seem to matter. I sometimes wondered if I could have done more to positively influence them. I know many of you also feel a responsibility to be a role model or to influence those you hold close. I have come to understand something about leadership now. That is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Wait for it, because that is waterboarding. And horses are fairly intelligent, okay? They will come back to the water when they're thirsty because you're not the boss of me. And when the time comes, they will probably ask you, older sibling, for the glass to put the water in, and then they're going to leave the glass for you to clean up, okay? Just call it a victory and move on. A victory's a victory, okay? So fast forward a little bit, add some life experience. More recently, I had a longtime friend confide in me about some mental health issues that she was dealing with, and that she had been dealing with them for years. She told me that the experiences that I went through, her witnessing that over the years, had actually been very influential to her in a positive way. And this is kind of where all these seemingly unrelated ideas come together, everyone, okay? She thought someone else has it worse. How insignificant are my struggles, okay? That was her perspective. I was so focused back then being a good role model for my siblings that I completely missed a friend who I could have been more present for. She could have related to my struggles. I could have helped her through sharing those experiences. We missed the chance to have that connection years ago, you guys. And I think about you all sitting here with these people around you that are so important to you, and I don't want you to miss the opportunity to have those connections. This weekend, I attended a community dinner where there was a surprise guest speaker revealed once we got there. The speaker was Jeannie White Gender. She is the mother of Ryan White. Do you guys know who Ryan White is now? Okay. So Ryan White was he's the reason that we all know about AIDS and HIV from our textbooks. She was right here in Crawfordsville, and I realized as she was speaking and telling her story, just literally inches from me, that because Ryan did something scary, we are all educated about a disease that no one knew anything about just really a very short time ago. Jeannie White did something scary back then in letting her son pursue his legal battle and stand up to a community of people who fought to keep him out of their school. She wanted to protect both of her children from the terrible acts of hatred and violence in their community, the way that they were imposing that and allowing that to happen to her family, because they were scared and they were ignorant. She is still sharing her story, and no matter the years that pass, you could tell from her voice that she is still reliving that as a scary experience now, all these years later. Ryan's story started here in Indiana, if you didn't know that, and it ends, the Whites found another Indiana community that did embrace them and completely changed the end of Ryan White's life. I imagine the individuals in that community were pretty scared too. HIV, AIDS was so unknown then, and no one really understood how to protect against it, only that it was fatal. Now Jeannie is challenging communities everywhere to think about how they will respond to challenging situations, scary situations. I wonder how we can do something scary when we find the opportunity to choose to live humanely. This woman who has faced all of these fears over and again left us with the parting advice to never stop talking about the important people in our lives who leave ahead of us. I think I have a better understanding of how now that works than I did 10 years ago or even 2 years ago. I hope it might be helpful for some of you to consider now too, and maybe you won't miss out on those connections like I think maybe I have. Thinking back to summer of 2013, I started my journey here at Wabash College. I moved home to Montgomery County after my brother died to be here with my family, and the stars just kind of aligned. The staff here gave me a really warm welcome, and a very kind member of the business office staff actually invited me to lunch, and we met up, and she made a comment that would really stick with me in a way that I don't think she realized was significant then, and I don't think I realized that it would be significant at the time either. She said something about the Wabash culture here. For some of us, we may be motherly figures for Wabash students. Some of us may be like a big sister. She had no idea that I had just lost my brother earlier that year, who was only 20 at the time, roughly the same age as a lot of you. Or that big sister was a role that was deeply tied to my identity. And even though I didn't understand it then, my brother didn't get to go to college or even to high school, but he was a really smart little guy. He loved t-ball, and maybe in different circumstances, he'd have been a star athlete or a talented musician or just that guy that you can really count on. I don't know what would have been for him. And so we think about our roles here in important topics like mental health, and I just want you all to consider that you, gentlemen, are part of my Wabash experience. You are all my little brothers. I can't help but to look for that potential in you. And my mission to help you achieve your best is not a paycheck. It's extremely personal for me, and it's a responsibility I do not take lightly. And I know that others, coaches, faculty, advisors, administrators, they feel the same way. We need to ask you to do things that are scary because we so want to see you reach your full potential. We need you to take a hard class. We need you to put yourself out there for the dream internship or the stretch goal grad school. I need to ask you to try to participate in a networking event or give a speech. I don't know what's scary for you, but I'm going to push you to do it. Say yes to some of the scary stuff because I said so. And because although we only have one guiding rule here, waterboarding is frowned upon. So, to bring the train back around, round trip, here we go. Take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. Let me explain. Take yourself seriously means operating from a position that you know that you can do it. You can get the dream job, you can pass the tests, you can approach that friend that you're concerned about. If you don't say yes to some scary stuff, you'll never give yourself the opportunity to succeed. Don't go through your time here or your life in general assuming that you can't be successful. Don't be afraid to get sweaty. Put in the hard work, the metaphorical sweat, but also things that are uncomfortable for you. But don't take yourself too seriously either. Have a sense of humor about it and be able to laugh at yourself. You can't win them all, and if you're doing something right, you'll overreach and fail once in a while. I'm not talking necessarily about taking big risks. All of these things, all these scenarios are things that are potentially low to no risk, right? Maybe a little bit of a bruised ego. That's probably healthy anyway. I hope this mantra, take yourself seriously but not too seriously, will help you to find balance in life. Okay, here's another callback. You ready, everyone? Leading by example. There is one other scary thing that I need to do today, and I have this big stretch goal that I have been sitting on for a little while. It probably sounds pretty silly, but I've always wanted to apply for the show Survivor. That's the appropriate response. That's fine. There we go. I said it out loud. I've shared it with you all. The thing that's been holding me back, you ask. I couldn't figure out what on earth I would say on an audition tape that would make anyone think that I was the right person to put on reality television, okay? And also, I'm not very good at video editing. And so I have tricked you all into coming up with the content of that audition for me. I am cashing in on this talk, hopefully being recorded today, and I've manipulated everyone around me. I'm not proud of it, but here we are. I take myself seriously. I figured out a way to actually make something happen that I wanted to do, and how to get it done playing to my strengths, which I guess is manipulation. I hadn't really thought about it, but. But not too seriously, and I hope we're all about to have a good laugh. If you read your emails like a responsible citizen this week, you know that I asked you to humor me by sharing your funny anecdotes, first impressions, witty banter, all at my expense. I am not a legal expert, so let's just say this is in the spirit of Kenny Schmimble's famous people announce unkind social media posts about themselves. I have not seen the tweets that I am about to read. That's how much I trust you. And if this talk ends terribly, it's also your fault. It's out of my hands now. Thank you, Alejandro, for preparing the envelope. And without further ado, please enjoy Cassie Reads Mean Tweets. Still sweaty, okay. At Cassie with a cam. Oh, look at me, I'm Cassie Hagan. I have the perfect resume and the perfect LinkedIn profile, and I know how to answer situational interview questions. Go to beep, Cassie Hagan. At Roland Morin. I don't even know how this person got this. At Cassie with a Cam. Life advice is also available at Career Services. Hashtag Cassie Reads Mean Tweets. Photo content. The sign that says real men wash dishes hanging over our kitchen sink. It's okay, take a moment, it's fine. At Cassie with a Cam. For the longest time, I thought Career Services was trying way too hard to be relatable instead of actually helpful. Hashtag Cassie Reads Mean Tweets. Also, my opinion completely changed in 2015, 16, 17. Thank you so much for your help and all you do for Wabash students. At Ben Kramer. Okay. At Cassie with a Cam. You're tacky and I hate you. And it's a meme of School of Rock. You're tacky and I hate you. So, thank you. No one wears glasses like at Cassie with a Cam. Hashtag Cassie Reads Mean Tweets. Michelle Pittard. Thank you. That's so nice. That's what Arlen calls 2017 Cassie. At Cassie with a Cam has the quickest and funniest wit in the Midwest. At Julia Seville. At Cassie with a Cam. Hey, do I need a resume approved by Career Services to tweet at you? I think you knew the answer to that, but yes, you do. At Wabash IMA. I'm available immediately after this. At Cassie with a Cam, will you please respond to my email? Thanks, you're the best. At Lincoln Kyle 1. I just saw you this morning. At Cassie with the Cam, the first time I met you in 7th grade, you called me a jerk. Hashtag Cassie Reads Mean Tweets. At DM Hagan 1. That's my husband. That could have been a lot worse. And so I saved one more for last because I accidentally read this one in an email notification, and it says, calm, cool, and always pleasant, at SLJMXI. So I was really relieved to see that one because I needed to know I had Dean Jones's support today, because this is how I'm asking if I can take a brief leave if Survivor casts me. Wabash, thank you so much for indulging me today, and please remember how important you are all to this community and how proud we are of each of you. Thank you.